Every season of The Amazing Race is an adventure. There are good racers, bad racers, and lucky racers. A good season of The Amazing Race takes you around the world and grips you with its interesting racers, crazy challenges, and close calls. You will want to tune in episode after episode to see where they go next until it all finishes with a hopefully satisfying conclusion. Each racing pair we look at together will experience their journey from beginning to end, from the time that they are introduced until they inevitably get eliminated at the mat or win the race. We will look at every character moment and strategic move to determine whether each team was heroes or villains and whether they were good or bad racers. And with that, welcome to The Amazing Race.
Welcome everyone. In just a few minutes, you'll be leaving on a race around the world.
For reference, we are only going to be observing what the TV show is showing us and what stories being told through the show. All character moments and strategic moves are interpreted with the mindset of what the story is trying to tell us. And I want to thank you for watching what I make and ultimately supporting what I do here with liking, commenting, and sharing. The patrons did pick Mel and Mike as the next people to get a racing video, so here we are. If you want to help make this channel grow and continue making in-depth analysis, then consider joining me on Patreon with them. For only a few bucks a month, you can pick who I make videos about, watch all this channel's content early, chat with other fans of the show, and even get exclusive videos every month. Thank you for your support. Mel and Mike White, a father and son duo who are writers, and well, Mike White should be interesting to Survivor fans and movie buffs alike. As you may know, he was on Survivor's 37th season, David vs. Goliath, and I won't spoil how he did, but I will say he did quite well for himself. But that was much later after his appearance here on The Amazing Race, and at this point in his life, the point that we're going to in The Amazing Race, Mike is most infamously known as Ned Schneebly in the movie School of Rock.
Come on! I may never have another girlfriend. I mean, just come on. Okay, for you, not for her, man, for you.
And not but a few months after this season of The Amazing Race finishes filming, he would go on to be in the 2009 hit movie Zombieland as well.
Yeah, because I got nothing else to do. I was engaged once, but I'm single now.
Together, they form a father and son team that don't look primed to be the most physically well-fit team, but possibly the team with the best teamwork and team spirit. And as high school as that may sound, it will make more sense by the time this video is done. So how do they fare? Let's find out. Before the race ever begins, we learn from Mel and Mike that they are gay, and this actually helps them be closer together since they have this in common.
Being gay and having a gay father definitely has its advantages. You don't feel like you're disappointing your parents since they beat you to the punch.
Phil then gives his whole spiel to hype up all the teams before the race begins, telling them how amazing it's going to be. You know, we're going to go to a bunch of places. It's really exciting to watch. So, as all the teams are ready, it finally begins.
The world is waiting for you. Good luck. Travel safe. Go!
Go! Come on! Let's go, baby. Ah.
And they're off. Their first task is to fly to Locarno, Switzerland, and I'm sorry if I butcher names here, but I'm trying my best. And it is clear that these two are super fans of the show based on how excited they are to simply just be on The Amazing Race.
This is so cool. We're on a freaking amazing race, dude. This is insane.
There are 2 flights to Switzerland, and unfortunately for Mel and Mike, they get on the second flight. However, we then hear from them, and Mike straight up compliments his dad by calling him MacGyver.
I think we're going to surprise some people. I've been doing push-ups and sit-ups until the cows come home.
I think the other teams might think my dad is Cloris Leachman, but he's really MacGyver.
Upon arriving in Switzerland, their clue says to race to a local dam and complete a roadblock. Now, a roadblock is a task that only one team member can perform with no help from the other team member, and on this roadblock, it's simple, but it is a bit scary as everyone needs to bungee jump off the dam.
This is it. Here's the clue box. You want me to do it?
Yeah, do it.
Holy crap, this is insane.
Mike does this, and despite being on the second flight and in the back half of the 11 teams, they move up to 4th place. After completing the roadblock, every team now needs to catch a train to get to their next task, and Tammy and Victor try to come up with a way to trick the other team so that they don't ride the train with them.
I just want to get the train that all the other teams ahead of us are on.
Let's go say hi to Tammy and Vic.
No, let's act like we don't know for sure. We'll say we asked somebody and they said we should get on this train.
But it doesn't work, and Mel calls them out in a joking fashion. But what is even more important is that they have caught up to the teams that were leading the way, and they're now tied with them.
Watch those guys. They're first and they get off here. Watch them. We're watching you. It's not that we don't trust you. It's just that we don't trust you.
Their next task is a doozy. Each team needs to wear a wood backpack designed to carry cheese, go up a slippery hill, load up 200 pounds of cheese, and each cheese round block thing is like 50 pounds each. It's a ton, and bring it down the hill. It sounds simple. It is simple, but chaos reigns supreme here as the backpacks are poorly constructed and fall apart on many teams pretty easily.
My cheese thing broke.
Oh, he just ate it.
In each round block of cheese is 50 pounds each, as mentioned before, which is a ton to carry with just your arms since the backpack is broken and they're going down a slippery hill. It's hilarious to watch for us, but there are a lot of close calls with the cheese in people's houses and fences, and I am worried that their insurance won't cover this type of damage. How do you call the insurance and say, yes, I need damage repaired to my house because these foreigners came to the hill behind my house and just rolled cheese down the hill right into my window? I'm not sure how that works. Anyways, Mel finds that sliding down the hill on his butt is a pretty effective tactic.
Dad?
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay, Mike. Don't drop this cheese. Don't drop this cheese.
Despite Mel's top-notch strategy, he is moving pretty slowly, and Mike is just a regular guy, so of course these massive blocks of cheese wear him out too. They persevere and finish the task in 4th place.
Take your taxi to the pit stop.
That was something.
They then get their clue to the pit stop and race there as fast as they can considering how worn out they are and clearly seem to be, and...
Mel and Mike, you are team number 4. Congratulations.
Good job, Dad.
After seeing these two in the premiere episode, it is clear that their lack of physicality will hold them back, but they seem to be a super likable team that won't have problems with working together like many teams do. So they will have to utilize that and their smarts to do tasks smarter and not harder, aka avoid anything physical when possible. This will determine just how far they're gonna make it on the race. Leg 2 begins with the teams being told they need to fly to Munich, Germany, and right away we learn something not great for our father-son duo. Mel injured himself on the last leg, and this can't be good for their future prospects in this race.
I injured myself in the last leg. My groin, but I'm not going to give way to it. I've just got to keep limping my way across the world.
However, they work smarter and not harder, and wisely call ahead to reserve tickets over the phone instead of waiting to get to the airport, which nets them seats on the first flight.
The first flight, departing at 7:10 a.m., carries Jamie and Cara, Mel and Mike, Tammy and Victor.
Upon arriving in Germany, they have to drive themselves to the roadblock where the person is actually given a choice, and it sounds a bit more like a detour to me, but we'll explain what that is later. They need to paraglide, but if the weather is prohibiting them from paragliding, then they have the option to go down the hill on foot, which is supposed to take about an hour to do. Mel elects to do the paragliding, and wouldn't you know it, the weather is holding him up from doing it, but due to his groin injury, he can't run down the hill without further injuring himself.
Other teams started catching up with us as we continued to keep waiting for the wind, and I knew my dad wasn't going to be able to make it down that hill.
So instead, he attempts to psych other teams out and force them to paraglide as well. Very Boston Rob circa season 7-esque, though through some social manipulation, he does try to attempt this.
What is she doing?
She has to run down. If you chicken out, you have to run down. So I'm not chickening out. I don't know about you.
Unfortunately for him, this tactic doesn't work too well, probably because Mel comes across as super likable and not a mafia boss, and it's not looking too good for him.
Don't leave.
Here you go. I guess we're all gonna go.
They're all doing it now. They're going down. Oh God, I lost.
However, the weather does eventually calm down for him to take flight, and it is glorious. All of the other teams went down the hill and he didn't. And upon completing the roadblock, him and Mike are in 5th place, which is actually the place they arrived at the task in.
Yes!
That was so awesome.
The teams now need to drive to the detour, and this presents them with an option between 2 tasks, each with their own pros and cons. For this detour, they can either ride a Segway 2 miles through an obstacle course or throw pies at each other until they find one with cherry filling inside. They pick Segways, which seems to be the slower task based on just the eyeball test, but actually they complete the roadblock and don't lose any positions along the way.
Go, 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 go!
Thank you.
It's time to race to the pit stop and the heat is on. Nothing will stop them. That is until...
How do you open this? This is the entrance.
Are you sure? I think we should go around.
I don't want to go around making us work for it.
What kind of witchcraft does this gate possess? How is anyone ever supposed to possibly open it? Mel and Mike call upon a huge hulking man who has to be at least 8 feet tall and full of muscle to rip open this gate off its hinges and...
Do you know how to open this? Get your stuff, Mike.
I'm ready to match.
Oh, well, it looks like all they do is turn the handle and pull. Well, anyways, they check into the pit stop and...
Mel and Mike, you are team number 2.
Leg 3 kicks off with the teams being told that they now need to fly to Bucharest, Romania. We then hear from Mel about just how impressed he is with his son Mike. Despite him being successful in Hollywood, he isn't like full of himself. He doesn't have this bloated ego that you would expect and is still the same guy that he has always known despite all of his fame.
School of Rock has been seen all over the world, and what I like about Mike is that his work in Hollywood has not gone to his head at all. He's still Mike.
Thankfully for Mel and Mike, they get the good flight that leaves at 4:45 p.m. and not the crappy one that leaves many hours later at 9:30, ensuring that they at least have a 4.5-hour lead over those teams.
We'd like the first available flight from Munich to Bucharest.
The next flight is at
4:45. Perfect.
They arrive at the roadblock in 3rd place, showing just how good their flight really was. And here, they not only have to copy a gymnast by doing all the same gymnastic moves in a leotard, thankfully for Mel, Mike does it, as I can't imagine Mel doing this at all, and they finish the roadblock in 3rd place.
Travel by train to the city of Brasov. Oh, my freaking medal.
They now have to travel by train to Transylvania and are tasked with a detour which has them either moving a gypsy family stuff or doing a vampire scavenger hunt. You would think the vampire hunt would be less of a physical task and that would be the one they would pick, and it is less of a physical task, but that doesn't stop Mel and Mike from picking the moving a gypsy family anyways, but thankfully some locals help them out with this task because it looks pretty grueling.
It looked really like a stupid decision to do the gypsy move when we arrived and saw a car body, huge tires.
We were like, why did we pick the most physical detour?
Despite the locals helping them, they also laugh at them and just how ridiculous they look, but look who is laughing now as Mel and Mike move up to 2nd place.
Thank you.
The last team to check in may be eliminated.
I'm getting the coat.
Thank you.
It's time to race to the pit stop and...
Mel and Mike, you are team number 1. Yes. Yes.
To say I'm proud of Mike right now is the understatement of the century. He's one of the very special people that I've met in my life.
Leg 4 starts with the teams now needing to fly to Siberia and go to a hydroelectric dam. Weirdly, this is the 2nd dam they've been required to go to in only 4 legs. Anyways, Mike says that his dad is a real character, if you know what he means.
My dad is part Woody Allen, part Billy Graham, and a splash of Judy Garland.
Now, unlike previously when they called ahead to get flights and it worked out for them in spades, this time for some reason they don't do that and it hurts them, so they are stuck on the 2nd flight with the back of the pack. Not a good move.
Taxi here. Fast.
Upon arriving in Siberia, they have a detour choice of either stacking firewood, which is very physical, or building some traditional wood shutters and dropping them off at the right home. Well, for some odd reason, they pick stacking firewood, which ends up not working out for them as their stack collapses, and they end up having to switch tasks anyways.
All we need is for us to tip over.
Oh, it's falling. It's falling. It's falling out.
Let's go.
We're gonna do construct. Oh man, we were totally ahead too.
They then team up with Mark and Michael, another team doing the same wood shutter task to try and get it done faster, but they can't seem to figure out where the heck they're supposed to bring the shutters to, so Mike calls them a pretty funny name.
How can 4 smart guys and the rest of us not be able to figure this out?
It was like a caravan of idiots holding their ladders with all their stuff in it.
They finally find the house that they're looking for after feeling like complete morons, and they finish the detour in 6th place.
Thank you.
Caution, you turn ahead.
Their next task is a roadblock which requires one of them to bobsled down a massive hill and basically memorize these Russian letters along the way that when they get to the end they have to unscramble that will spell out the name of Chekhov. That's right, Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Can I go?
Let's go, good job.
They then race to the pit stop and...
Mel and Mike, you are team number 6.
Yeah, we're alive.
Leg 5 begins, and if you're wondering if it was now finally time to go somewhere warm, well, prepare to put on your winter coat and be disappointed, as the teams are now traveling by train to Russia. Mike then says a quote that just makes his dad so happy.
Let the last become first, and let the first become last.
He's quoting the Bible, thank God. It's a miracle.
I also need to mention that everyone is on the same train together, so they have all been equalized. Basically, everyone's in first place, I guess you want to look at it like that. While on the train to Russia, the teams try to catch some Z's. While talking with Margie and Luke being deaf, he says how he wasn't able to get much rest, and Luke just rubs it in his face.
I slept like crap. In case anyone cares. Real compassionate.
I know.
He's gonna create a whole new archetype, the sinister deaf kid.
Upon arriving in Russia, they have a detour, which has them either picking up a Russian bride and driving her to her wedding, or snowplowing through a training course. Mel and Mike pick the wedding task, and on the way to picking up the bride, they explain exactly what criteria they use when it comes to picking detour tasks.
I tend to choose the detours based on what seems more fun. I'd rather party with virgin brides than snowplows.
The detour is a fun one, and while they don't move up any positions, they don't move down any positions either, as they stay in 4th place.
I don't see any churches.
This woman's gotta get married.
You like?
Thank you. Drive to bibliothèque and search for your next clue.
That brings Mel and Mike to this leg's roadblock, which requires one of them to run 1.4 miles in Russia while it is clearly freezing cold outside in their underwear. Wow. Mike is pretty much bare naked here aside from his boots and his undies, and along the way a woman looks at him like, what the heck is going on? And the editors throw in a little gag as well.
Intense, man. I want to make it to that pit stop.
That run brings Mel and Mike to the pit stop where they check in, and
Mel and Mike, you are team number 4.
Leg 6 finally has the teams traveling somewhere warm, as they are tasked with flying to India, where they must race to the outskirts of a town to find a large tree. Mel then tells us how Mike will give him a hard time to motivate him, but it is always in good fun and shows the camaraderie these two really have.
When I'm running out of steam, Mike, he could be yelling at me easily. Come on, old man. But he always understands that I'm trying my best.
As it turns out, everyone is on the same flight going to India, so hey, everyone once again is tied for first place. Once in India, Mel and Mike catch a cab, but oh no, the driver has no idea where he is going, which isn't great.
Taxi! Dula Village? Do you know? Huh? He doesn't know crap.
Oh man.
Mel and Mike recognize this issue, so they try to get their stuff and go to another driver, but the driver they currently have will not open the trunk for them, and this really ensures that they're in the back of the pack.
I'm sorry, it's not gonna work out.
Just a minute, I'm asking all my
Open this trunk.
I can't get it out. Finally.
When they finally arrive at the large tree, everyone picks up the red phone to get their next clue, which leads them to this leg's roadblock. The roadblock is a grueling one where one team member has to carry a bunch of food and water to fill up a camel feeding station. It's hot outside, and clearly this is a very taxing task on everyone. Unfortunately, Mel elects to do it, and he struggles hard.
I just couldn't even watch. I knew that we'd be there at least a half an hour after everybody else.
But unlike all the other teams, he actually pays attention to his clue. Keep that in mind, that's always important, and looks at his surroundings and sees that everyone else is doing this the hard way. There are baskets that make carrying everything a whole lot easier, and they actually finish the roadblock in 2nd place, working smarter, not harder.
Clue, please. Thank you.
Yes! All right!
Nice job. Johari Bazaar. All right, let's go.
After Mel finishes it, Mike is talking him up and complimenting him big time. Mel makes a classic dad joke in return.
My dad just smoked the roadblock.
I got hay fever.
Their next task is a detour, which has them either cycling for 1.5 miles with massive barrels or dancing at an intersection in costume to earn 100 rupees. They smartly choose the dancing and maintain their 2nd place position.
Oh, bless you.
They then race to the pit stop and...
Mel and Mike, you are team number 2.
Mike once again compliments his dad, but this time he does it to Phil's face, and this fills up Mel with so much joy.
He rocked it today. Smoked the competition in their 20s.
Today when he said, you really smoked him, Dad, that was better than $1 million. And I love this kid anyway, but when I make him proud, that's the prize for me of this race.
Despite the turbulent start to this leg with the bad taxi driver, smart gameplay actually put Mel and Mike in the front of the pack, and that is exactly what they will need to continue doing in order to win it all. Leg 7 has all the teams flying to Thailand to find a statue of a gorilla. Their entire clue is a picture of a gorilla with no context about the statue, so they're looking everywhere. Mel makes another dad joke to start the leg, and Mike is just not impressed.
Do you speak any Thai, Dad?
Yeah, my Thai. That was fun.
I know.
Once again, everyone is equalized and on the same flight to Thailand. Once there, everyone gets a taxi except for Mel and Mike, once again putting them in the back of the pack.
Taxi! This is ridiculous.
All of the other teams get together and find out that the picture of this gorilla is sending them to the local zoo. However, Mel and Mike's taxi driver is taking them to the beach instead, and frankly, he has no idea where he's going. He just told them he knew where he was going, which is always frustrating. But what is made even worse is that Mel and Mike see all of the other teams going in an opposite direction of them, but they completely ignore what should be a red flag for them.
Well, I feel like everybody seemed like they were in like a herd, and that herd is going in a totally different way than we are. But either we're gonna get behind or we're gonna get ahead.
Once they realize their taxi driver lied about knowing where to go, they finally find out that where they need to go is the zoo, and this puts them in last place.
Ah! There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Oh my gosh. You got it?
Their task at the zoo has them taking a picture with a tiger and then having elephants step over them and squat on them. It's very awkward. However, they really get squished when the elephant also steps on their butts.
He's stepping on me.
Oh, no.
Once they are done with the zoo, they have a detour. Either they can fill up 47 barrels with water and arrange another 53 on a boat, or pull a rickshaw for 2 miles. They wisely pick the barrels, and despite catching up to Keisha and Jen, they still finish the task just barely behind them, and they're still in last place, but not by much.
Okay, 47. Is that okay?
Thank you, Captain.
Morning, last team chicken, medium lemonade. Let's go.
There isn't a roadblock on this leg of the race, so they race to the pit stop, and
Mel and Mike, you are the last team to arrive. I'm sorry to tell you, you have been eliminated from the race.
Mel and Mike get some parting words, and we hear from Mel about just how proud he is of Mike, and Mike tells this story about how him and his dad have always been father and son all of his life, and yeah, I sure hope so.
We've been father and son my whole life, but I don't think we've ever really been teammates.
So let's break this down. How were Mel and Mike as characters? They were super sweet, kind, and genuinely got along with pretty much everyone on the race and each other. It's rare to see a team not get upset with each other or raise their voices when someone is holding them back, but Mel and Mike get along really well. Despite Mel's injury and his age, Mike still encourages him, and you can see where he gets that from as Mel is constantly encouraging Mike. This team was truly enjoyable to watch and made for pleasant television, which is a welcome relief when we cut to them from some other teams who are on the same race. Out of 17 character moments shown on the show, 16 were heroic and 1 was villainous, making Mel and Mike heroes on The Amazing Race 14. Now, how were Mel and Mike with their racing strategy? Work smarter, not harder. That was the key to success for these two. That was what they had to do, and it pretty much worked for them until the very last leg when they trusted their cab driver instead of following literally everyone else. At least if everyone else was lost, they could have been lost with them. It was risky to just not follow them, and it didn't pay off. Despite that, they ran a solid 6 previous legs and even finished in first place on leg 3. It was very impressive given Mel's age, and this is a team that easily could have made the final 3 had it not been for a bad taxi driver and their own blunder. Out of 23 strategic moments shown on the show, 13 were smart and 10 were dumb, making Mel and Mike smart racers on The Amazing Race 14. Thanks for watching, and if you like the content you see here, then please consider supporting me and this channel on Patreon. Your financial support makes this channel possible, so thank you, and thank you for watching.